The number two reason US engineers and designers were saying they were quitting the industry was lack of mentorship. They want to learn, but they can't find it. And it becomes frustrating enough they just quit. We don't have people there to execute the trades and the designers. It might be the first time that we actually don't have those people in the system.
Welcome to the Level Design Podcast, a podcast for architects and engineers who want to thrive in this industry by creating more freedom, fulfillment, and financial security. Join us in uncovering how to restore value and honor to the unique people who choose to be designers and caretakers of our built world, and why it's essential to the future of our society, our industry, and our planet.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
I'm good, Miles. How's your morning?
It's good. I'm excited to talk today regarding mentorship. This is something that you've always talked about, and it has always popped up over and over again. It's very overwhelming in the industry with engineers and architects who want and need mentorship, because this stuff, we all need mentors. We need a guide. We need someone who's done it to just support us and show us the way. So for the past, 5+ years, we've kind of had the foresight that LinkedIn is a great place to connect with other professionals and design professionals. And so we've kind of had campaigns running on the back end, connecting with A&Es. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest themes is mentorship. So the other day I went on a ride along with you and Peter, our Austin engineer, and I got to see that mentorship happen very organically, where we walked into the house. They were basically doing this huge remodel. The house just became this puzzle piece. It was really cool for me to see, because I don't get to go on ride-alongs that often. Right. Talking with the owner in a very specific way. Like, it was very collaborative. What do you want to do with this area? How do you, do you have family dinner, or does this room not really matter? And the kitchen size and kids, and opening up the space. And then Peter doing his thing. And then right when we walk out the front door, he hits you with a few questions. And it was like, wow, I didn't even think of that. So it's definitely a big need.
Yeah. And, we had in our commercial world or our infrastructure world, or, we go out, we have a lot of young folks running things, and there's nothing wrong with young, but they don't, I think the number two reason US engineers and designers were saying they were quitting the industry was lack of mentorship. They want to learn, but they can't find it. And it becomes frustrating enough they just quit.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. That's where we're at in the US. Now, mentoring happens in other places of the world, but we are in a unique time in the US where the built world activity is not very romantic for a lot of folks. I just did a class for a woman that was really employed by the state to cause middle school and high school kids to get excited about engineering. And she said, I've been at this 5 years. I haven't had one young person ask what civil engineering was. They all want to go into computer science and do tech, right? Not one person asked what was civil engineering. Now we're talking about human conveniences that we enjoy every day is civil, and it's not even on the map. So we both got to make it super fun. It's super exciting. Like you said, it's just a great career, whether any of the engineering disciplines are great careers. So we've somehow made it unfun, which is too bad, because it is a lot of fun. But let's create some excitement. We got a lot of fun challenges in front of us. Let's do it better. Let's do it cleaner. We got people moving, migrating. We have challenges that are going to be super exciting to take on as problem solvers in the U.S. Again, other parts of the world are doing this already. It's just the U.S. that's pretty much focused on tech as the thing to be doing in your career. And so, yeah, it's so valuable to mentor the youth in this issue of maybe the first time in our history, we have this built world we don't have people there to execute the trades and the designers. It might be the first time that we actually don't have those people in the system.
It's so interesting because you said, all the kids want to go into computer science and tech. And it's like, well, if you think about why, I'm not exactly sure, but I guess it's cooler. It sounds more fun for some reason. And then there's, not that the kids know about this, but then there's like you can make more money idea
for sure
if you go tech and all that. And so,
or almost like the lotto. It's like, well, if you get in on the right company that's a startup, get some ownership early, and you might ride yourself into wealth, in a short period of time. So it's like playing the lotto to me.
So we saw that play out though already. We saw the tech boom. We saw all of this money pumped into the tech industry and computers and data storage, and now AI is sucking up all this energy. It's like, at what point does it flip? It's already flipping, I think, but it's going to flip. It's going to go back. People are going to say, oh, shoot, I actually need to just buy this little bit of land over here and start a brick and mortar, service company of some kind, or plumbing, or, engineering, or like go back to the basics of our built world. I think it's flipping to where that is actually more valuable. It's more needed. You're going to be rewarded both on impact and monetarily. It's like, how do we take the excitement that was put into tech and computers and catch our industry up? Because it's actually, I think, way fucking cooler. Excuse my language. But it is building stuff that people use.
I mean, I can remember when I was younger, the tradesmen and women used to say with pride what they did. They would say, I'm a carpenter. And it was with pride, and they loved it. And now a carpenter, they're like, oh, yeah, I do this thing. They don't even, I'm like, come on, what's happened? It's not because you work with your hands. I mean, I got to be some of the smartest people I've ever known, smarter than a lot of the academia is actually that tradesperson in the field, solving the problem and building it. I don't know. It seems interesting issue right now, but the mentoring part, that's part of it's integrated into our organization, not as the level organization. It's not. Yeah, we do mentoring. It's actually the hub of the organization. Everything and the whole structure of the company is around mentoring.
Yeah.
And that's how serious that we think the issue is. Yeah.
From day one.
From day one.
If someone's interested, they hear this podcast, they talk with Andrew, see if it's a good fit, and they start getting onboarded right away, and the mentorship is baked into every step. And I've seen that. And it's really cool. And I think that's what's so exciting about Level is like, you can go into a more traditional route and you might have what feels like some stability with like a salary and benefits and stuff like that, which is awesome. It can also all be a little bit of a lie. Oftentimes you're not getting a lot of that money. You're not able to work on the projects you necessarily want to work on. You're not always getting credit. You're not feeling the impact and working with the actual building or homeowner or whoever it is, contractor. And so there's a disconnect there that leaves you unfulfilled, I think, in the long term. And then with Level, it's like you can be an entrepreneur, a freelancer, and do the stuff you want, but you're also not on the other end of the spectrum, just out there fending for yourself, right? Like hunting for food and for work. You have the support.
Yeah, you're talking about our organizational structure and how it's different. It's really we're teaching in order to compete. I just got one yesterday. There's a lot of corporate structures traditionally are designed to make money, which I'm not against, but that's what they're designed to do, to make money. And we talked about this before when the CAD, our design tool, is heavy on data. So we're designing on CAD, computer aided design. It's heavy on data, and 15 years ago, we could start moving that data across the internet, but not before that.
Mm-hmm.
So it still had to be done on your computer in your office. And that forced us to work within our own community reach because we just couldn't move that design very far over the internet. So what we found is this country it was primarily built by small, medium firms in their communities or with niches, right? And that was just because of technology. That changed. And then at that point, we see this consolidation, the mergers, purchases, the small, medium firm idea, which is usually run by a designer, architect, or an engineer. They were everywhere in the country. And we're starting to see those go away. Baby boomers are selling them or liquidating those to larger and larger companies that are actually not run by designers. We talked about this before, but they're actually run by business people, which is fine. But that more and more is shifting, that system, that structure is shifting to large box entities, and to make a profit run by business people are starting to need to go overseas because we're not having a lot of engineers and architects that want to work in those systems because they're so pigeonholed. So an architect or engineer goes into those larger systems, they get pigeonholed into only a very few tasks, so it becomes highly efficient, kind of like an assembly line on a manufacturing. You don't have people doing multiple things because it's not efficient. Same thing's happening to the design industry. And then you have this overseas talent that 1 million engineers over there graduating, and we're only keeping 20,000 in the US. We're losing more than we're gaining. So that business wants to go overseas for affordable talent to meet the growing needs of this country, which it's growing. So the level model is like, yeah, let's go back to the old way. Let the business model do large scale marketing, let it do efficiencies in business for them, and then teach them how to be entrepreneurs in their own community as a group. So they're engineers and architects that are collaborating as entrepreneurs in their communities with this larger organization, being efficient, marketing, business tools, et cetera. We took out the middleman. We took out the firm.
Looking for a new opportunity? Interested in being part of an expanding network of independent engineers and architects who are thinking differently? Level Design Partners is on a mission to create prosperity for design professionals, the industry, and the world, using innovative business systems and a culture of collaboration. We believe that traditional education and firm structures want you to be a cog in their machine, depriving you of key skills needed to thrive, thus commoditizing an entire industry in the process. Gain access to skills, tools, and systems by partnering with Level Design Partners. Learn more at leveldesignpartners.com.
We did, and I think we replaced it. It's funny because we were just talking about the tech industry and all that, how kids are fantasize that world, and we really brought tech and some innovations into Level, the system that is Level that we run off of, so that the efficiencies are there. You're able to work from wherever and have your schedule there and see where you need to go today and what you need to work on today. So I think we've been combining two worlds in a way that's really serving the industry.
And it's so attractive for the youth. The younger thinking is like, I don't want to necessarily work my whole life just to make an organization financially viable. It's not enough purpose for me. A lot of the young American talents, like, I want more. I want to be more than that in my life. I want purpose. I want to learn my trade, and I want to work on something exciting, which was what's more exciting than working in your community in the built environment. It's great.
Exactly.
It's fun, super fun. Yeah.
Cool.
But mentoring's a big deal. I mean, you watched it, I think, a couple of days ago, right? And that was just one specific thing. There's so much need. I was out the other day. Got a call. There's a maintenance person that just got a new parking garage that was old. And the property maintenance people said, hey, this building needs to be torn down. This parking garage is in trouble. And we went out, and then you have some learning and designers and engineers, they don't know what they're looking at. They're looking at a rusty this or a rusty that, a Boeing this or a Boeing that. And they're like, oh, no, it's actually maintainable. You can get another 30 years out of it. So there's just lots of mentoring. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of nuance that comes from experience, walking into thousands of structures.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And then on the other side, there's a lot of gap. A lot of our designers used to come from rural areas years ago, farmers, or their parents, or they grew up, they were very connected in their youth to a trades people, or working in rural areas where they got common sense, hands-on kind of knowledge growing up. And a lot of our designers don't have that anymore. As we move to our urban areas, the youth don't get exposed to that. And then they go to college and they become a designer, but they've still never seen it. They've never seen the built world. And then all of a sudden they find themselves at a desk being asked to design the built world, but they've never seen it or know how it's done.
Wow.
And so, I think academia is missing the picture, but so it's like, here in this level brand was like, we built a sister company that's a construction company so that they can see their designs built, that construction company, and go, I can't build that. And actually they're both in a safe space for each teaching each other.
Yeah.
So our construction company is learning how engineers and designers' minds' intent are when they design something, because contractors aren't brought into that world.
Right.
It's like they hate the designer because why would you do that? That's the dumbest thing in the world. Well, this just, maybe it was, but maybe there's things to learn. And then designers are like, hey, why don't you come out here and tell me how to build this? Because I can't build what you designed.
Right.
And so.
Bridging the gap. It's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, large classrooms. Yeah. It's a blast. But mentoring in this country is an issue. It's a big issue. And it's a big barrier. It's become a barrier.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that I did the ride along because it's reminded me the importance of mentorship, and I'm excited to see. I mean, we have some really big announcements and changes coming with Level soon.
Yeah.
So, exciting stuff. I mean, we're doing it. We're working on it, trying to solve that problem.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I do want to encourage the older folks to join us. You don't have to work. You can work at your own pace, but that mentoring is so valuable to collaborative, and so valuable as, I think a lot of the baby boomers get their retirement. They just want, they really, really desire that hard stop. They've worked hard all their life to get that hard stop and retire. But man, it would be so great if we can get some of them to, just mentor. And it's not hard, it's fun, but to get them into the mentoring the youth through the level system. We accommodate, we embrace. Again, as you said, we built that from day one. We built the organization around mentoring. So those older folks that have that knowledge, please call, please reach out, because we have a bunch of young people that would love to have you.
Yeah.
Love to have what you got in your brain,
Yeah. If any of this resonates with anyone listening, leveldesignpartners.com has all the info there. You can take the first step there and see it, gets you all your answers, all your questions answered, see if it's a good fit, and we can take it from there.
Yeah. Even if you just go to that and just get curious and reach out, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a public benefit corp. And the main purpose, we have three, right? Two are environmental. The main purpose is causing entrepreneurial success of the American engineer and architect. So we'll teach you how to thrive as an entrepreneur in your community, being a designer, and that you're not alone. You collaborate with your local team, and that team collaborates with the rest of the country. So Super fun.
Awesome. Cool, Scott. Well, we need to be true to our word and tackle history. So why are we doing this again? Remind me why we're even talking about history. And today is specifically the 1710 to 1720, the tens.
Infrastructure and the built world, the human convenience, and in a lot of parts of the world. I was having this conversation with an architect from Central America yesterday. And when you get into really where we're at in this country today, is it almost seems nonsensical and overly complicated. And so the reason we're doing this is to describe how the hell did we get here? What was the sequence of events that got us here? It's a wonderful infrastructure, and the funding of it and how we make decisions is really, really very successful. But we're at the cusp of losing that success. And I think for us, it's important in this podcast as we talk about infrastructure that we also talk about how did this get built? What decisions were made when? How did we build this thing? So we can construct it. And then I think we're going into deconstructing it to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're basically reverse engineering how we got here today. And, we're in the early 1700s. So, we've got the only really notable things that have changed from the first decade in 1700s is marine and river. So we have worldwide, and then we kind of look at today's US, America, but marine and river transportation, advancements in the design and transportation of oil cargo via marine and river routes, influencing later industrial practices, bridge construction techniques that had been developed in previous centuries with a focus on stone and masonry arches. Urban planning in European cities continue to develop more organized street layouts. That's something that we're kind of seeing all over. Well, in Europe first, I guess, but just more urban, like communities starting to form and more structure. Masonry and stonework, timber framing, surveying instruments are starting to become more common, like theodolite.
Let's label this first part of this century as the frustration century. So I can imagine that we have a number of influences. We have the English and the French and the Spanish and the indigenous all vying for a land grab. The New World, which is not a new world for the indigenous, are now on their heels of losing millions of people to the European illnesses, being conquered and being overwhelmed by this creation of a boat that can go across the ocean readily. So that transportation tool, that boat that was built by the Europeans caused that transportation vehicle, caused this America's really, really huge transformation. So there's a lot of special interests, battles going on, battles that have happened, struggles, a lot of territorial, who owns what. So the royals in Europe are, trying to sort this out at this point in time. The indigenous are trying to sort this out too. But there starts to be, this is the era where we start moving from, there's this outpost of European encampments along the coast to a new thinking. This is the 50 years it happens. It starts to become more than just encampments of Europeans along the coast.
Right.
And starts going into them actually interacting with each other. So they're going to be building roads in the next 50 years. They're going to be trading goods, transporting goods with each other, other than right now in 1700 to 1710, they're mostly using rivers and the ocean to exchange goods with each other's and needs. Right. So you might have bricks. I think we decided the first brick factory was up in Mass, Pennsylvania area.
I think so.
You might see that a boat loaded with bricks going to the Virginias for the first time. Right. That kind of activity. And tobacco has become a thing. So the tobacco, how do we get tobacco between these little outposts around the coast?
Right. So they're putting roots down basically for the first time, starting to interconnect
Yeah.
and settle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super frustrating because they came from Europe where there was streets and some semblance of water and sewer systems and organized comfort. And they come over here and there's just none of it. So it's a frustrating time,
Yeah,
I think, for these folks.
I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
The frustration years.
Gotta be frustrating.
Yeah. But
Right.
a lot of opportunity on the other side.
Yeah. The beginnings of the country, obviously. And then the theodolite, this thing about survey equipment was, when you came from Europe, you get to own a piece of land. And this was new. This was something that the very wealthy had in Europe. And you could literally go and claim a piece of ground, buy it from the king or queen pretty affordably, or maybe not at all. But you had to define the boundaries in which you owned.
Right.
So that's the survey equipment.
Yeah. You couldn't just point and say, I own all this.
Yeah. And they had a really unique way for another 200 years, they used this measuring device for length. What do you think it was?
I have no clue.
It was a device called chains.
Mm.
So they were links of steel rods joined where you could fold up, and I think they were roughly a meter.
Right.
Or actually, I think they were 3 feet, actually, because of English measurement. And you would unfold these sequences of steel rods, and that was how they measured.
That's wild.
And they did that for another 200 years, by the way. And it's called chains.
Okay.
And I can remember I was a city engineer in the Midwest in Illinois for a while, and there was plats from President Lincoln still in the file because he was a surveyor. And I remember looking at this old plat, this old lot survey that he had did, still had his original signature on it, and it was done by chains.
That is so cool.
It. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That must have been a hard thing to maneuver and to carry. Sounds heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Not as handy as a tape measure.
Right.
Or our modern equipment now.
Wild world back then. All right, awesome. So that's our history. Next time we'll cover the 20s through the 30s, that decade. So do your research, Scott. We'll look into it.
Okay. We'll see what these colonists are up to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Miles.
Thanks for listening. If you found value in this episode, support us by sharing it with someone or leaving a review. In upcoming episodes, we'll discuss the realities of the industry today and what the future may look like. It's our belief that positive changes for architects and engineers is not the obligation of the industry, but rather a choice you make to reimagine how we work together. We invite you to join us in creating a world in which design professionals thrive. Learn about our mission and get involved by following us wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribing to our newsletter at leveldesignpartners.com.